Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and maintenance. Today we're going to talk about bread. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my books, which you can find on Amazon, my website, which has hundreds of articles and recipes. And if you like podcasts, I have The Awakened Man and The Cinema Rag, both of which are on Apple and Spotify. The latter is about movies, if you like movies and celebrity gossip. And lastly, if you appreciate my content, there's a link for PayPal. All right, let's talk about bread. So bread is the big boogeyman. And I find it to be interesting because you think throughout human history, everybody ate bread. It is one of the cornerstones of civilization. It was, albeit not the most nutrient-dense form of calories, but bread has gotten us through a lot of hardships in the millennium. And then you see in the last 20, 30 years, not even 20, I would say the last really 10 years, bread's bad, gluten sensitivity, bread, throw it out, carnivore, and so forth. And I think there needs to be a more nuanced discussion on bread. Are there better things to eat than bread? Certainly. But I will tell you this, look, bread does have some nutrition, especially if you can make it at home. And certainly if you get the more higher grain breads, there is nutrition. Now, not as much nutrition as if you're actually eating the more nutrient-dense, fiber-dense part of wheat or whatever grain you're making, which is the bran. Certainly you'll get more of that. But bread does have its place. And I think more importantly, in terms of weight loss and weight maintenance, most people cannot live their life without bread. And if you are one of those types who doesn't like bread at all, whether it be pita bread or naan or sliced bread, or there's so many forms of bread throughout the world, that's great. If you can live your life like that. I think the majority of people like bread. It tastes good. Right? It tastes good warm, like a bagel. Right? Who doesn't like a bagel? I've talked about my love for Middle Eastern food. I love naan. I love Middle Eastern bread, warm. I mean, everybody likes bread. Even people who don't eat bread, because either they do have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease, so anytime you eat something with gluten, it will attack your intestines. Those people like bread too. But I think you've gotten in this world where I think since we've taken religion out of life, so to speak, we fill it with a new religion. And some people it's working out, some people it's environmentalism and global warming. And I think with some people you see it's in the diet. So now veganism is their new religion. They worship it, and there's popes and bishops, the people on YouTube that they swear by. And it's almost like a new religion. And if you say anything bad about it, they attack. And there are certainly people who will say, bread is bad, you must eliminate bread, And look, bread, there are better things to eat than bread, but can you lose weight and still eat bread? Absolutely. Can you lose weight and not eat bread? Absolutely. Can you stay fat and never eat bread? Absolutely. You can be eating Cheetos all day. Can you eat bread and stay and lose weight? Yeah. So I mean, look, bread is not that like super pivotal in the weight loss process. Now, I would probably tell you that it'd probably be easier to lose weight if you're not eating bread. But again, that's nuanced too, because you could eliminate bread, but if you're eating Ding Dongs and Cheetos and Pop-Tarts, well, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So on this channel, I kind of moderate. I try to stay in the middle. I don't want to oscillate too far to the left, too far to the right. All meat. If I don't support carnivore, then I'm some sellout for Ansel Keys. But then if I'm on the other way, where I'm not supporting vegetarianism, then I'm some sort of spokesperson for I don't know, some guy who does carnivore all the time, like Joe Rogan or somebody like that. He's like, no, it's just like you see this in religion, you see it in politics. You're always being called out if you're not in the extremes. And I would tell you, just based on my experience, and that's what this channel is all about, you got to find a moderate view of things. I am not a firm proponent of never eating cake ever in your life, or never having a glass of wine ever. Look, you got to think long term. So when you're trying to lose the weight, yes, I would tell you have to be a little more fastidious and a little more drastic in what you are eating. Like I would tell you, of course, throw out all your liquid calories. But certainly when you're trying to lose weight, but once you've gone to that milestone where you've lost the weight, And now you don't really have a lot of tools as to how you're going to maintain it for the next decades, because many of you crash dieted, and we can crash diet for a certain point of time, but eventually it catches up to you. You can't live that life of never eating bread or never eating meat or whatever it is. You have to find a more moderate view. And the more moderate view is, yeah, eat bread. I'm not saying your entire diet should be bread-based. You shouldn't be eating muffins and danishes and loaves of sourdough and king's bread and all this stuff like that. I'm not telling you that. What I'm saying is that there is a place for bread. And if you're making judicious decisions in other aspects of your life, in particular portion control, because I think honestly that is the biggest problem. Because if you look at our, not even say our Paleolithic ancestors, but even if you look at Americans back in the 1960s, we were eating tons of butter. We were eating tons of crap food. We didn't have an obesity problem. One of the reasons we have an obesity problem today is because our portions are crazy. If you look at a hamburger from a diner in the 1950s, it was like today's like McDonald's hamburger, kid hamburger size, like this big. And now, of course, we have quarter pounder, half pounders. So a lot of it is just the portions. So if you're controlling your portions, if you're getting good sleep, if you're having a predominantly, I would tell you the best way to lose weight would be more of a low carb, high healthy fat diet while fasting and not eating until the early afternoon. Again, if you're sleeping well, keeping your stress down, you can incorporate bread and you should be able to weight maintain indefinitely. So bread is not a boogeyman. We've made bread into a boogeyman, and this is largely pushed by certain people who have an agenda. Yes, there are people that have celiac disease should avoid bread. There are people that have legitimate gluten sensitivity, but like even if you believe in the number that 70% of people have gluten sensitivity and that's why they're farting and they have the burgeoning belly and all these things, it's still possible for them to be healthy and even to lose weight, even if you have a gluten sensitivity. Does it make sense to wean off of gluten if you have a diagnosed, verified gluten sensitivity? Yes. So look, in closing, if you notice that you are farty and you're bloated and you have a very high bread diet, as I've mentioned before, do an elimination diet. Either do a legitimate elimination diet or test for food allergies where you actually get your blood tested to see if you are allergic to dairy, to nuts, to bread. And this is why you have like a dysbiosis in your microbiome. Or just do an old-fashioned elimination diet, which is eliminate, and we have a video on this, eliminate all the major food allergies from your life. And then for 1 week, reintroduce one of them. So let's say you eliminate all, essentially, most of these things are either come in packaged foods or they're easy to eliminate. If you look at the main food allergies, the things that we are allergic to, like dairy and so forth. So eliminate all that. You're essentially eating a lot of produce and some meat. And then let's say week 1, you introduce dairy back. And if you notice that you're not getting the bloating and the farting and all these things, the brain fog, well, then you know that you're not allergic to dairy. Then in the next week, you bring back bread. And if you notice those symptoms are coming back, well, then you know that you do have a gluten sensitivity. So you want to have something verified, because lots of times in our mind, we just think, oh, and people who are like this, right? Oh, I'm sensitive to bread, or I'm allergic to bread, or I have a gluten issue, and it's like, well, have you ever got this diagnosed? No, but they need to think this. They need to think this. No, get it verified. Either do one casually, like an elimination diet, or actually get it done with the blood work. But in general, guys, in closing, bread is not the big enemy in America that's causing us to get fat. It is not. It is not. There's a whole host of other things that are causing that. And yes, bread's okay. I would definitely eat the 10-grain bread if you're going to be eating bread. Make your own bread at home as well, which I think is better than the bread that can last for a long time. But yeah, there is definitely a place for bread. Just don't overindulge. Like with everything else, just don't overindulge in bread. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to know what's your view on bread. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.